actually, hold on now. I want to break stuff. It's super ironic that I'm actually up here. A little traumatizing, actually. But when Kelly was telling me about this event, before she had even actually asked me to do this, I was complaining to my counselor about how she had asked me who I was and what I was doing in life and where I was going and all that. And then Kelly looks at me and she goes, so how do you feel about sharing that, Kelsey? And that's why I'm here tonight. It's really ironic how Jesus does all that stuff. But for those of you who don't know, my name is Kelsey. I am from Newfoundland. I'm from a community that is actually smaller than the amount of people that go to this school. So small that some people actually still have dial-up. That's a thing. Not even kidding, it's a thing. But yeah, growing up, I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! I wasn't one of those weird kids, but I was like the weird athlete. Sorry guys, it gets worse today. But I was the weird kid who was like a star athlete, but in a cadet uniform, who still worked at her church with the little kids. That's who I was, and it was probably one of the, like, my life was just awkward the whole time growing up. It still kind of is, but yeah, I grew up in a really cool home. My parents were both Christian. I have an older sister who's like 11 years older than me, and we're like complete opposites. It's really funny when you get us together. But yeah, my parents were really supportive growing up, but I was kind of like an independent, really stubborn child. Like I was so stubborn that like my parents picked me up as a baby, I would pop my shoulder at a joint for fun. Like it was weird. And I was really, I've been like, you can laugh, it's okay. But I was like that my whole life. And it kind of continued on. And I got labeled as a lot of things. You know, I did the classic bullying that happened. That was a thing. But I was, to my coaches, I was a kid because I was always the youngest one on the team until like grade 12. It didn't make any sense, but I was. And at cadets, I was the sergeant. And at work, I was the manager. And at home, I was the big sister because we decided to take in like 20 foster kids at one point, and that was really exciting. But that helped create who I was in a really interesting way. But that kind of all led up to who I was today. And for a really long time, I didn't really know who I was. Because I would go to these events, and I would be sergeant here, and I would be the sports player here, and I would be babysitter here, and that's just kind of what I did. I was never really Kelsey. And, if you met me when I was home, actually, I wouldn't probably introduce myself as Kelsey. I'd say, oh, I'm like the sergeant of this, or I'm Thierry's daughter, or I'm Joy's daughter, or Wanda's niece, because that's what I was known as. And my very first day at Tyndale was traumatizing. I avoided my parents and left them while my mom was crying because she was leaving her baby in the city. And I ran downstairs to meet all the other frosh. And I hid in a corner because I was really scared of everyone. And this group of girls walked over, and it was like a scene out of Mean Girls, and like the four of them were walking traumatizingly towards you, and I was so scared. And my roommate, actually today, walked up to me and she goes, hey, my name is Roxanne, what's your name? And I go, hey, I'm Thierry's daughter. And that's it. That's all I said. I was mortified. And like, the look of concern that passed over all the girls' faces was terrible. And I was like, I just looked at them and I kind of stuttered and ran. That's it. So that was my first day at Tyndale. Super exciting. I'm getting better, I promise. But that was kind of like, by like avoiding the embarrassment of it, it was probably one of like the most impacting moments I've had here. Because I realized that I knew who I was for everybody else, but I didn't actually know who I was for me. I didn't really know who Kelsey was at that point. I mean, I love being my dad's daughter, it's pretty cool, but it's not who I'm gonna be for the rest of my life. And that moment for me was kind of like the journey that I'm still on, and it's really rough. It's like Sawyer said, like you're going through the woods and you're walking in circles and circles, and like I'm pretty sure I've seen the same tree like 17 times. It's hard, but that's what you do, and my whole university career has been like, I don't know how to put it nicely, it's been a bit traumatizing. If you know anything about my story, there's been a lot of sickness. I failed a couple courses. I've almost dropped out like 12 times. I lost my dad this past semester actually, so that was really hard. But I remember my second semester here, I had just realized that like I was on academic probation, and I was like, well, might as well leave, thanks Jesus, because get a jail-free card, I can leave school, I can go home, life will be great. But I was actually like booking my ticket online to fly back home, and I hadn't told anybody, and my parents, I was gonna like surprise them at the doorstep kind of thing, because they weren't gonna let me come home if I told them, so. But on the side, on the line, where like the ads are, the really weird ones, surprisingly this time it was a Bible verse, which was super ironic and super scary. But I had looked at it and it didn't make any sense. And I was like, okay God, like if you want me here, if I have to stay here, if I have to figure out who I am for the rest of my life, and I have to do this now, you need to show me something. You need to give me an example, a person, a friend, a shadow or something. I need some help here. And it brought me to Philippians. Come on now. It brought me to Philippians 4, and I don't know if you know what's going on in Philippians, but Paul is writing a letter to this church who's going through a whole lot of problems. And they're just trying to figure out who they are in Christ and how they live in Christ and what they're supposed to do. And before this part, he's telling them, keep your thoughts fixed on what is true and what is honorable and what is right, and to keep going and to pray about everything. And then he says, in his closing, he says, not that I was ever in need, for I have learned to be content in whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing. Oh yeah, hold on. And I know how to be with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with full stomach or with empty, with plenty or with little. For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. And for me, that was my reminder that I wanted to be that person who could go through everything, who could still smile when life is absolutely falling apart, and who can still keep going when you are in the darkest valley you have ever been in and there is no light coming anytime soon. And that's what it was. In that moment when I was crying over the Air Canada page, that's when I realized that I had to find out who I was, and I had to do it then. Because I wasn't going to make it if I just relied on me. And that saying that's like, you don't really know what it's like to have nothing until you absolutely have nothing. And that's where I was. I had absolutely nothing besides God. He was the only one that I could go to. And that's where I found me. And I don't have my life together, not a bit. But I do know that I'm Kelsey, and that I am from Newfoundland, and I really like naps and rap music. That's me. And I am really stubborn, and I argue with God a lot, but never once has he ever left me. And I know that things will get harder, and I know that I'm probably going to cry and yell at God a lot for them, but I know that he's going to be there with me. And I wish someone had told me that when I introduced myself as Terry Tyler. I wish I got that knowledge, because I thought for a very long time that who I was in high school was going to travel over to university. I thought that I was still going to be the person who was active and in front of people and was social, and I'm not. I like being by myself. And I like talking to God and actually knowing where I'm going. And I guess I could tell you, that's my story. I don't really have a clue where I'm going, but I know that I'm going to get there, and I'm going to be me when I get there. And if you're in that place, if you're in that really scary place, you have no lights, you have no path, you have totally ventured off, and you're just standing in a pond or something, I get it. I was there. But it's really good to talk to somebody if you are there, because stories are really important to share, and they're kind of fun too. So, yeah.